Good evening and welcome to the first 72 Denmark edition. No. I'm not talking about the first 72 hours after a crime. I'm talking about the first 72 hours after you arrive in a new country for a 30-day stay. You know, the things that you need to get together to prep yourself for the next 30 days. Getting fed, getting supplies, getting around, and getting the communication open. All of this without trying to blow through your budget in the first 3 days. Hello, friend, and welcome to Unextreme Travel Adventures. This 30 days, we'll be spending it in Aalborg, Denmark. And I'd like to give you an idea of what you can expect when you arrive in a new country. And I'm going to share with you the expenses that it costs to get us set up for the next 30 days. Okay, let's start with getting from the airport in Aalborg to our rental accommodation. In this instance, we chose to go with a taxi because we had just come off of kind of a longer flight, and of course we have pretty big bags compared to domestic flights, and we weren't really set up with our SIM yet, so we opted for the taxi. It's about 8 kilometers from the airport to our accommodation, and that taxi ride costs us a whopping $60. That turns out to be about $7.50 a mile. Yikes! We knew Scandinavia was going to be expensive. Okay, next up, we need to get connected to the world. We've decided to go with the approach where we have 2 options. Our first option is by using an eSIM with a provider that covers many countries, something like 180. And that system is convenient. You don't have to go and find a little shop to get the eSIM. It can be a little bit more expensive than finding a local eSIM, and sometimes we've found through trial and error that it's stronger in certain countries and not so great in other countries. And it's one of those things you don't really know how it's going to pan out until you try it. So sometimes that can be a bit of a difficulty and can result in a little bit higher expense. But when it works, it is very convenient and you have a lot less of the hassle factor. When that strategy doesn't work out, then we go and look for a local eSIM. I know a lot of people buy them in airports. We don't tend to do that. We tend to find them in little local shops, convenience stores, grocery stores, sometimes bookstores. And a lot of times we find them just by asking locals or walking around until we find one. The other option is to go for a local SIM card. And if you don't have a slot for an eSIM, a lot of times this is your choice. There can be kind of a catch to that, which is finding a place that sells them and understanding what you're going to get when you can't really read the packaging, you don't really know how it works locally, and the person selling it really might not know much about the SIM cards at all. Sometimes it seems like a great deal. This happened to us in Austria. We thought we were buying a SIM card with a certain amount of data and texting on it, and what we were really doing was buying the SIM card, the chip. And then after that, you had to pay more money to actually get the data and the texting and all that. So it can be tricky navigating what you're going to get. But if it works out, a lot of times it does work out to be much cheaper than the international companies that work with providing you service via an eSIM. Okay, next on the list, getting fed and getting clean. We went to the local grocery store, and it's very easy where we're staying. There are 2 choices about 4 blocks away. That's easy peasy. I don't know about you, but I find it very interesting to see what products are like in other countries, and also because this is a video about costs, I'll also show you the products and break down the costs. I have 25 things that are just kind of random things that I'll be showing you the pricing for. We all know that Denmark and Scandinavia are not on the low end of pricing. let's just say they're not cheap, but there are definitely ways that you can keep your costs low. Search for ingredients for your meal instead of meals. You're going to pay a lot extra for convenience. You're going to pay a lot extra for frozen pizzas or packaged meals or food delivery. If you break that down into the individual ingredients and make it yourself at home, you'll save a lot of money. Another way that we keep our budget in check is by limiting the amount of times that we go out to dinner. I know you can argue that going out and eating street food or having a nice meal in a restaurant is certainly part of the travel experience. But the way that I've come to look at it is I'd rather be able to travel and go to these countries and prepare my own meals most of the time than not be able to afford to go and stay at home and go ahead and eat out more often. To me, the trade-off is well worth it. One little example was as we were walking over to the grocery store, we noticed that there was a kebab shop. And right outside the shop, the menu was displayed. So we did the math, and for a kebab and fries, that was going to be $20 per meal. So right there you have $40 for just a quick impulse stop. Whereas when we went to the grocery store and we bought lunch meat, cheese, beautiful bread, we can make several meals at home for well under $40. Okay, next on the list to be sorted out is transportation. So you take a look at the options that are available to you and what your budget is, and then you kind of match that up with the things that you'd like to do and see, and where those come together meets your budget. And if some things are far away and you're going to need to take a train to get there, for example, then the way that I think about it is, so you have a $20 entrance fee for 2 people, so there's $40, and then you have $20 train fare for 2 people, so there's $40, and then you have to get home, so there's another $40. 4 times 3 is 12. So to go see this museum or this town is going to cost you $120. So we sat and looked at our options and crunched some numbers, and here are the options to choose from. Ride shares and taxis are going to cost you between $15 and $20 for about a 5 to 6 mile ride, and then of course you have to come back, and the good news is that's for both of you. Public transportation, buses and trains are going to run about $4 per person per ride. So if there's 2 of you, that's $8 to get there and $8 to get home, and then put that on top of any entrance fees that you may incur for the thing that you're going to do. Of course, you always have walking. Walking is free. Walking allows you to come and go as you please. But when you walk, of course, you have to take into consideration how long it's going to take you to get there. You know, you can't really walk 20 miles away, and you're susceptible to bad weather at a nice slow pace, and you get a little bit of a workout. And then you can look at car rental, and maybe you're not going to rent the car for a whole month. Maybe you're just going to concentrate all the things that you want to see and do in 1 week. So in the Aalborg, Denmark area, car rentals for 1 week is going to run you about $100 a day. Of course, when you have a car at your disposal, you can go on little road trips, you can go kind of far away, you can stop and see things where the bus or the train isn't going to stop, and so you have a lot of freedom that way. But the cost of that freedom is $100 a day. And last on the list, we are in Denmark. I think Denmark is probably the second best known country after the Netherlands for bicycle riding, is the option of bicycles. And because biking is so popular here, we found a service that will rent you bicycles on a monthly basis. And the pricing that we found was $250 a month, which included 1 electric bike with 1 gear and 1 normal pedal bike with 7 gears. That was for an entire month. The bikes are delivered to you and picked up. There were a couple of extra fees because they want to rent this to people for longer than a month, so there's a fee on top of that. And there was also a small fee for theft insurance. Now, the beauty with renting bikes is you can come and go as you please on the timetable that you choose. Denmark is a completely bike-friendly environment. There's lots of bike parking. There are safe bike lanes for you to go in. It's a really great option. The drawback would be is if it was bad weather, but you can control when you go, when you come home, and if your plans change and you want to do something on a different day, you don't have the hassle of trying to cram it all into 1 week like you would with a car. Next up on the list are the items that I'm calling kit items. Dean and I have been full-time traveling for over 2 years now, and you just start to see a pattern where you get to your accommodation and it's very typical, it's very normal that these items are not available. And if they're easy enough, then you can just assemble a little kit of your personal preference items and you can just drag them all over the world with you, and it makes your life easier. So let's see what I have in my kit. On the list we have 2 food storage containers because I like to cook once and eat at least twice, and very often in accommodations where we are, there are no such thing as food storage containers. One way that we get around this sometimes is we eat a lot of yogurt for breakfast, and once those tubs are used up, then we use those tubs for food storage if you don't want to pack them or if you don't want to buy them. The next item on the list, if you've been traveling for any length of time now, it's just a standard joke that's not a joke. There are no sharp knives when you get to your rental accommodations. We've been to many countries, and I think only once have we encountered a sharp knife. When we were in Albania, I had the occasion to buy a new knife, and I'm dragging that puppy with me as far as I can until they take it away from me, which I assume at some point they will. I put it in my checked bags, but at some point I think someone's going to decide that that shouldn't go in my suitcase anymore. Then you have tongs and a peeler, more kitchen items. I always have an apron with me because we only have a very limited amount of clothing and trying to keep those from getting stained or ruined. And you can see there seems to be a kitchen theme building here. Another item that I have is a dishcloth, and the one that we have has certainly seen some better days, but it still works. And then what I'm calling the MVP, a hanky. Actually, I have 3 of them and I put them in rotation. Hankies work great for so many things. You can use these for a napkin when you're out on the street and you buy street food to eat. You can use this for a little picnic blanket. You can use it for when you're sweaty and trying to keep your composure. And another thing that I use it for is to drape over my camera when it starts sprinkling and I want to keep my camera dry. Many uses, don't really weigh anything, and these are certainly an integral part of my kit. Now that I've told you about my kit, what do you think you would have in your kit that you would drag all over the world just to make sure you had one with you? So here's a little food for thought that maybe no one tells you about, maybe they don't think about it, but it becomes kind of a big reality when you embark on a full-time travel lifestyle. And the issue is not so much as what the thing actually costs, it's what does it cost to obtain that. So here in Denmark, it's been raining on and off for several days now, and it would be nice to have an umbrella. I don't know what they cost here. Let's take a guess and say $5. But the thing is, in order to get the umbrella, first of all, you don't even know what stores offer that type of a product because you're not familiar with the brands. You don't know what that type of store carries. So that already starts to be kind of a hurdle to get over. And then, so let's say you think you have identified a store and you're going to run out and get it. Well, so now you arrange for a ride share, which we've already discussed is going to be about $15. $15 to get to the store, $5 for the umbrella, and $15 to get home. Well, now you're looking at a $35 umbrella. Those are the types of things that happen and you have to be aware of. And it'll be a matter of personal preference of whether, yeah, it's worth it to me because I really want to go do this thing and I'd rather spend $35 to go see it than skip it or put it off for another day. Or you may be the type of person that says, no, I'm not going to spend $35 obtaining an umbrella because I'll have to throw it away because I don't have enough weight in my luggage to drag it to the next place. These are things that you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons, look at your budget, look at your lifestyle, and decide that for yourself. So let's take a look at the real numbers of what it cost us for the first 72 hours in Aalborg, Denmark. First on the list was $135 for groceries, toilet paper, laundry detergent, etc. Next on the list, the $60 taxi ride from the airport to our accommodation. Next on the list, a $20 SIM card. Eating out, grabbing coffees, $0. Any one-off unexpected gear, $0. And bike rental comes in at $250 for a month for 2 people. So yeah, the first 72 hours are a little painful on the pocketbook, but remember, this does set you up in a lot of instances for the rest of the month. And once you prorate that out, it's really not that bad when you know that a lot of these expenses will be carried out throughout the month. We are tracking our expenses this month and we'll bring you a video recapping what it all costs at the end of the month. So subscribe to our channel so you don't miss that one. Please be sure to like and share this video with someone that you know that's interested in full-time travel. That's all for this one, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.